We put them on stretchers and better not talk about it. They're terrible.
He doesn't even want to talk about it. I just said a few minutes ago that they've had so much time to get over it, and he still can't talk about it. Welcome back for some more Band of Brothers. Quick recap. Last episode, we actually finished the series. We got to look into the point system that's used and how it kind of led to more trouble than needed to be. Instead of sending our guys home, they had to stay in Austria, I think, because they didn't have enough points to go home. They were waiting to go to the Pacific. We dropped 2 atomic bombs, and I'm pretty sure that's the reason at least most of Easy Company, if any at all, had to go out there. We got a recap on what everyone was up to since the show ended, and this is the documentary everyone told me to watch after I ended the series, which is one of the greatest series I've ever seen. So let's get into this. Before we begin, I do want to remind you that you can vote on what I watch, see full-length reactions, and get early YouTube edits on my Patreon through the link in the description. If not, just make sure you subscribe or leave a thumbs up on this video if you do enjoy it. It really helps my channel reach a wider audience, and I greatly appreciate it. But now, it's time for the show. Let's go.
Both femurs were shattered.
Ooh.
And they were laying down here, and I thought, I'm dead. I'm about to die.
Oh, I thought you weren't supposed to go to war if you were an only child. Story like that would have been right at place inside the show. And to know there's just tons of stories like that that just didn't make the show that happened every minute in the war. Chaos.
Frederick T. Heiliger, Concord, Massachusetts was my hometown.
Born and raised in South Philadelphia. Mom had 10 children.
10 kids, damn mama. They all come from working families. Not wealthy by any means.
I wasn't going to be in the infantry, I knew that. I was going to be in some top kind of a unit, or I wasn't going to be in the Army.
I'm either going to be in the top unit or not in it at all. Early sign of a great soldier.
That you're in service with. You know those people better than you will ever know anybody in your life. And that comes when you start your training, while that progresses.
Yeah, that's why I'm glad we got the first episode was literally just training camp. It is that important.
Had to climb this mountain called Currahee every morning. If you couldn't do it, why, you'd end up in another unit.
Of course, the name Currahee,
Couldn't do it, you end up in another unit.
an Indian name, it became a symbol of the camp because
Currahee.
it was really rough and tough.
We stand alone together, okay.
We packed our own chutes for the first jump.
Nervous as hell, getting on the plane. Came time to stand up and hook up, we did.
Coming down is great.
Broke my foot on the first one.
Broke my foot on the first one.
The thing you worried about most was your chute. Did you pack it right? All kinds of ideas of what you might have done wrong, but it worked out fine.
That's some scary shit. Jumping out of a plane and you think all the way up until that jump, did I pack it right? If not, I'm just jumping through the sky.
You're going to be jumping behind the enemy lines. What do you expect? You have no idea. That'll make anybody stand and search his soul for a few minutes.
And we know that from the show, this dude had a lot of introspective moments in the war, stuff that's considered common. It still really affected him.
I mean, if you could have been there at the time to see where the planes were lined up and all the gliders hooked up to the planes.
So incredible. That was a great scene during the show. The planes taking off, people loading on. I didn't know there was that much stuff either, man, until I saw it. And I'm like, what?
We had confidence in our leaders, all the plans and preparations. We were confident and calm.
Like, none of them had seen war yet. Why wouldn't they have any other reason than to be calm and confident, knowing they were the best of the best?
I swore I was going to kill every damn German I came across. And that's why I think they nicknamed me Wild Bill, because I did a lot of killing D-Day.
I did a lot of killing on D-Day. Damn. I mean, he had a reason, though. You know, if my brother was murdered, too, I don't know, my index finger might be a little heavy that day as well.
The aircraft is absolutely horrendous. It was like
Everybody wanted to get out of the plane as fast as they could.
they wanted out of the plane. They were getting shot up.
Actual footage? Whatever that shit was shooting into the sky looked terrifying.
There was a certain relief, I think, when the green light came on and everything.
Man, I jumped up on a run and...
Buck Compton.
They're supposed to weigh 10, 15 pounds. Everyone that jumped with a leg bag or supplies, they lost it. Most of the paratroopers that landed didn't have nothing.
Right, we saw that too. It was a mad dash to get supplies off dead bodies when you landed.
I was gone out and my leg was in, and I was hanging upside down, looking at everything down with my leg in the plane.
What?
They were firing in every direction. Even in front of you, back of you, you don't know which way to go.
That sounds like the most terrifying shit ever. And they're just talking about it. Like, yeah, that was just day one.
Germans didn't know where we were.
Those people coming in on those boats, those Germans had those big guns aimed right at them, and just waiting on them.
That's the part of D-Day I think most people know about. They don't know about the paratroopers, but we know about the massacre of the infantry that came through the water. That was more of the Saving Private Ryan point of view, I think.
They weren't aware of what we had. They didn't realize we only had 12 people. Lieutenant Winters had us set up a firing position.
Lieutenant Winters. He was still a lieutenant.
And I felt I could see a trench, and I thought I knew where our machine gun was. I divided the group into 2 units.
We're getting Winters' words on how he took out these gunners on Utah Beach. Well, near Utah Beach. Yes.
When you think of a guy dedicated to his company, that he apologizes for getting hit, they were all the same.
That is a great show of character, you know, and it is actually very inspiring. I didn't even think about that when I saw that part in the actual show.
We didn't figure we had a chance to come home. We thought the war was just starting, and Christ, we're 50% gone now. It's a long haul.
So they were living like it was their last days, basically. Let's get tattoos, because we're not going home. Let's have fun while we're here.
I got right there to where I didn't want to be friendly. Replace was coming in because, God, I didn't like seeing him get killed. It just tore me up.
And that's completely understandable.
The most dangerous part about it was the fact that people are losing helmets and equipment. All this equipment's raining down.
Right. The stuff that people are dropping may be lost, but it may hit somebody else on the way down. A gun falling out the sky.
Once we got in, the Dutch, it was just marvelous. They loved Americans and still do, coming in there and pushing the Germans out.
Yeah, we saw in that episode, they were ecstatic when we were in there. So happy, which is good. That's great. That's great reassurance for the soldiers that are there.
And they were really proud to see us. To the point where it was dangerous for us. Snipers did some damage in a situation like that.
Damn.
They could observe any movement we made at their will. They could shell us, put mortar fire on us.
It was basically like a no crossing, man. Like, you get near this area, you're dead. We got to push through.
If Lesniewski hadn't hollered live grenade, I know I'd have either had my head blown off or I would have definitely been blinded.
Call outs, man. Call outs are everything. Oh.
I saw a huge mushroom cloud from the show. And Joe Toy stepped out of it.
Oh, I remember this scene. Damn.
Jim Campbell might be alive today. If he hadn't have said to me, you stay here, I'm going up. I never forgot that.
Plagued by those moments where you knew that one decision or option, and it's like, how do you live with that? You just think about the things you could have did that could have changed the outcome. So you could have just saved one more person, even if it was one person, just that one guy.
This is the last desperate action of the Germans to turn the tide of this whole war.
I mean, even from this point of view, we suffered casualties and loss, but we were wrecking their shit once we got there. And then Bastogne happened. Yeah, the largest engagement. Even from what people leave in the comments, I know. 600,000 Americans? What the fuck?
But it is Bastogne, though. It is.
They're walking through it.
Right? Most intense I went through. I couldn't believe it. You had to be here. Dove in the hole and just pray. That's it. We lost Muck and Pancella.
You could see just from them there, they're literally seeing everything, like it's replaying like film in their head. They remember every detail. It's like a curse. They can't unsee it.
Even today, a real cold night, my wife will tell you that the first thing I'll say is, I'm glad I'm not in Bastogne.
Higher military authorities would get to us whatever we needed. But when we got up there, we didn't know what we were getting into. There was very little information.
Right? Even when I was watching it, I kind of didn't understand, you know, the importance and criticalness and how trapped they were until a few episodes later. Like they weren't supposed to get out of that alive. Easy company.
Asking the guys that's retreating, you got any extra ammunition or a hand grenade you don't want? Oh yeah, you could hear the firing going on.
That was a crazy scene when Jimmy Fallon came in and the soldiers were leaving and they asked for their stuff because they were heading in there.
Snow, cold up to your rump.
The bull.
Didn't have no winter clothing or nothing.
You'd be surprised how quick you can get through that hard ground when somebody's shooting at you and them shells are falling.
That was their only saving grace out there. And even that wasn't completely safe. But what were you supposed to do? There was nowhere to go.
That guy got hit in the arm with a piece of shrapnel, took his arm off. Taking him out, he said, calm voice and everything, get my wristwatch off my arm.
Get my wristwatch off my arm. I feels cold. That messes with your mind, man. You're like, this dude just lost his arm. He's talking about just get my wristwatch. Tough.
Joe said, Christ, what do I have to do to die? I went out to see what I could do for him. Bongo, I got it too.
We're just talking about it nonchalantly, like they didn't lose limbs and shit. It was a long time ago. They've had time to get over it.
We put them on stretchers, and I better not talk about it. They're terrible.
He doesn't even want to talk about it. He doesn't even want. I just said a few minutes ago that they've had so much time to get over it, and he still can't talk about it.
He says, I haven't got one scratch. He says, when I do get it, I'm really going to get it. He was right.
That's another thing, the conversations that you have with people that passed during the war. It's like you don't forget the things they said to you right before they died, and like how what they said could have aligned with their death, or like how they like jinxed themselves, or just moments like that spread throughout.
In American history, never before has a full division been cited by the War Department in the name of the President for gallantry in action.
The whole division, let's go.
He built his eagle's nest. This was the goal of the French, who were on our right flank. This was the goal of the British.
It was symbolic too to capture Eagle's Nest, I'm sure, not just strategic.
A loot of all kinds that the men were looking for: guns, money.
I was a pack rat anyway. I picked up a lot of German.
Yeah, we saw in a lot of episodes people were getting shit and taking shit back home.
Had 7 truckloads of champagne and cognac out of the wine cellars out of the Eagle's Nest.
Yeah.
I started drinking it one day and I drank it. I went to the barracks, went to sleep. I didn't wake up the next day. I made a 2-day out.
And I had seen what the Germans had done to the Jewish race, and I'd seen what they had done to the displaced persons.
Heartless, pure evil. It's to the point where this day, if we find a Nazi soldier hiding out somewhere, we still bring him to trial for his war crimes.
As the war went along, we found out also that it wasn't the Germans per se. It was SS and the special troops.
That's crazy, man. And that would explain why the tone in Germany is they don't condone anything Hitler did in the past and are ashamed of it.
I was assigned this major. When he walked in, he presented me this pistol, offered his personal surrender.
I thought he rejected it.
This pistol had never been fired. There was no blood on it. That's the way all wars should end, with an agreement with no blood on it.
Didn't I say that? There's like no diplomacy at all. People don't even give that a chance, so people don't get wiped out. And this is Winters, and he's the first one to tell you that's how it should be as well. This dude never lost his humanity, man. Fucking legend.
I was making $75 a week.
We've never become wealthy in life, but we have a lot of other wealth that means more than that.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
The purpose of reunions, great respect, you might say affection for each other. Many dangerous situations together, and have learned that you can
Look at these
rely on
guys.
each other.
If you see the people today,
Look at these brothers.
To be this close after all these years, that's the thing that gets me, is I like brothers.
I mean, how do you keep in touch with people for this long that you knew when you were that young to this old? Unless they're your brother, that's it. It's unheard of. No matter how close you were with someone in your life, never gets this long.
My family didn't know anything about it, and just didn't tell them about it.
He started talking about it just in the last 5 or 6 years.
He just started talking about it after decades.
I said, Dad, my gosh, Dad, you were so lucky. He looked at me and he said, yeah, very lucky, and he started crying.
These guys have been with each other in an absolute
Toy. That must be his son.
die, or seeing people dying all around you. And there they went, day after day, and I admire that.
I'm glad we got to hear something from some of their family members and how the people closest to them were affected by by it too.
Think about your God more than anything else. Think about most of them every day. Etched in your memory, I guess.
The heroes crosses over their heads, the ones that are buried in the cemeteries.
The heroes.
Those are the true heroes.
These guys are so grateful for everything.
I don't believe there's very, very, very few heroes that came back from the war. They're still over there.
Grandpa, were you a hero in the war? No, but I served in a company of heroes.
And that's really how he felt. That was the truth. You know, you can make a visual dictionary, and next to the word hero, you can just have a picture of Easy Company there.
And Garnier would try to come over and sing. He'd say to Garnier, Garnier, you're Italian. You don't know this song. Bridget of Flynn, where have you been? Sure, it's a fine time for you to come in. 2 beers, you were drunk because you were in great physical condition. You were too peaked, you know, and 2 beers, you were high as Georgia Pine.
He's just talking about it like, yeah, man, that's just... Can you blame us? And that, ladies and gentlemen, was Band of Brothers, We Stand Alone Together. It was like rewatching the show again, but condensed. Obviously, a lot of stuff was left out. Some episodes were summarized in just a few sentences in this documentary, yet it was still as impactful as seeing it in the show. They made a big deal in the beginning of it about how, you know, paratroopers chose to be you. You weren't just assigned to be that. That's where the guys who were considered the toughest and who wanted to be with the best would go. So you knew if you made it through training camp and they were on that plane with you, you were part of a special group, and that guy next to you was worth dying for. And just seeing this, you know, with either your team, coworkers, whatever, it's a great team building tool just watching it. So imagine, and it's not even surprising how close these guys got and still are after all these years. Because, you know, even after training camp and the stuff that they went through in the war and the war was over, the guy even said that he can't believe they're still together because some effort still has to be made to keep in touch with people, no matter what you went through. Even if it's family, you have to. And the fact that these guys are this old, it's still happening. I think a lot of, you know, teams and groups and people that are just trying to get closer, they could watch something like this and it would help. I try not to be too critical of it while watching it because this was actually a documentary. The show, while it was based on true events, it's still a retelling. It's an interpretation. And from what you guys are telling me, a lot of stuff is just changed, different. You know, that's what happens when something gets the HBO treatment. But from this to be from the literal mouths of the heroes, and only them, they're the only ones that spoke throughout this entire thing. All the pictures were from real events. All the videos were from real events. This was the real thing. It was more of an observational viewing. I did say stuff during it, but not as much as I normally would. You know, this is reality, and there has to be a certain level of respect for it. I'm not going to give this the same attention that I would someone that's creating art. This wasn't art. This was history. And you could see Bastogne and The Breaking Point, those episodes when they were in the woods trying to get to Foy, you know, that snow-filled forest. It's the standout, even in this documentary, from them speaking about it. They actually went on location there. That was the only place we saw in this documentary where they're on location. Heffron and Wild Bill, who even in their older ages are still as animated as they were portrayed in the show. You could just see the fire in them. You could see how they use comic relief to just get through situations, losing limbs, and you got your brothers with you, and you know any mutilation or injuries you get is usually done so it doesn't happen to someone else. And that's why the guy said it was crazy to see the guy's arm come off and be like, just get my watch. You know, you felt accountable for the guy next to you. And Winters, you know, getting upset when the guy said, I'm sorry, even though he was the one that was shot, because it's all about you don't care about yourself. You just want to let the guys around you down. Through all the war movies and things I've seen on this channel, the thing that stands out in this compared to those, because there's always this brutal, inhumane element that's just like shows the terribleness of war, is when they said that they were happy when they saw their friends get injured, mutilated, because you knew that it was their ticket home. They were happy. You were happy for them. They got to go out of this. And when you see dead people, some of them look peaceful. They were happy they were going to be done with all this, that they were going to be gone. That's only in war. Only in war are you happy that someone that you love and care about gets injured and mutilated so they can go home. There's nothing that you could want people to go home or be safe, but you don't wish them grievous bodily harm. This wasn't normal though. This So that's what this show and documentary had to offer in terms of showing the horrors and atrocities of war that just doesn't apply to anything else but war. Just like in the show, the whole tone of the soldiers shifted when they captured the Eagle's Nest. They even played a little lighthearted music when they were talking about how they were just getting drunk and dude slept through the days because it tasted like ginger ale. He didn't know how strong this stuff was. And in there, they got to relax and calm down a bit and, really analyze and see the German soldiers for what they were. And they realized they weren't the SS. They weren't the Nazis. They were just well-trained soldiers, had honor, did what they were told. It was their time. They were called to act. We didn't see anything in the show that showed them, doing anything after they surrendered. That was kind of dishonorable. They accepted defeat. The general giving his handgun that hadn't been fired at all to Winters. And in the show, we saw Winters didn't accept it, but now we see that he actually did eventually take it from him or accept it from him. And that's what I've said so many times in so many war reactions, that it just seems like these movies are made to show us that we have to find other ways to reach a solution before it gets to this. War is always going to happen, but it should only be for something like World War II, when someone like Hitler gets out of hand, not for all these other secret reasons. And, they say Vietnam, we went in there to fight communism, but when we learned that's not what it was really about. I feel like Winter should have been, and he was before Captain America was even created, I think. I feel like soldiers like him inspired, superheroes. I don't think we had superheroes before World War II, like comic book superheroes. So I would like to think people like him had a hand in creating the people that we hold in such high regard now that aren't real. It came from a real place. But it even ended with him telling his grandson or great-grandson, he fought with heroes. And others not even speaking about the war. They're not in it for the attention and the fame, and like I said, none of them were like wealthy when they were all said and done. They were just extremely grateful that they had their lives and that they fought for something great. All types of life lessons and gems and things you can apply to your life and happiness throughout it, from young to old, in this documentary. What a great way to wrap this all up. If anything stood out to you in this movie, or there was anything I might have missed, please tell me about it in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed watching my reaction. All I ask is that you leave a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't yet. You can also vote on what I watch, see full-length reactions, and get early YouTube edits on my Patreon through the link in the description. You guys are the best. We're a family. You know that. That's it for me. Until next time, spread peace and love. I'm out.